last time I was getting into a story from my own life when I was
Mm-hmm.
growing up in Atlanta, Georgia. I think I mentioned that in Atlanta, my father was basically the equivalent of Reverend C.K. Steele in Tallahassee.
Right.
As a matter of fact, the two of them were classmates, and both of them were vice presidents of Dr. King's Southern Christian Leadership Conference.
Right.
So this is around 1967. I turned 21 that year. I don't remember if this was before or after my birthday, but in 67, that's the year I turned 21. My father had gone out to a meeting, and I was at home with my stepmother, and the phone rang,
Mm-hmm.
and a voice in a very distinct Southern drawl asked to speak to my dad. So I said, well, he's not in right now. May I take a message? And they asked me if I was his son.
Right.
I said, yes, I'm his son. May I take a message? They said, yeah, we're getting ready to come over there and rape your mother. That's what they said, right? Now,
Okay.
I'm assuming that they thought that that was going to get some excitement out of me.
Mm-hmm.
But I just responded with, okay, come on over. I'll be here when you get here.
Right.
And I went and got my gun, what my father gave me when I was 8 years old, right? Not so I could shoot
Yes.
up the neighborhood, not so I could have drive by with the guys across town, none of that. We went hunting, and we used it to protect the home, right? So I went and got my gun, got a chair, and I sat down right beside the front door. Almost shot my dad when he came home until I realized he had keys. He had keys in the lock. You know,
Right.
when I heard that, I was like, oh, that's dad coming home. But I was, you know, when I heard the footsteps and all that,
He was ready.
hey, let's get it on, you know. But they never showed up. And I think my reaction was what deterred them, because I didn't get all hysterical, like, oh my God, I was
Right.
like, hey, I'll be here when you get here, homie, come on. You might get me, but I'm taking two of you with me.
Right.
You know, yeah, that was my mentality. You know, I shun violence, but I've never been the classical nonviolent. You know, if you don't start nothing, it won't be nothing.
Right.
That's how I look at it. But if you're gonna start something, I have every right, and I will exercise every means at my disposal to defend myself.
And you
You
should.
know, right? Exactly. You know, my dad used to say, "Your rights end where my nose begins." You know, like you say what you want to say, what you want to do over there. When you start encroaching on my space, we got a problem.
We got a problem.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to tell that story.
Okay.
Because, you know, that's from my own life experience. It was terrorism back then. You know,
Yeah.
coming home from anywhere after dark, you know, you have to sit in the car for a minute and kind of observe what's going on outside. You know, then when you get out of the car, you're constantly, you know, checking until you get safely inside. You know,
Right.
it was like that in the days, right? So anyway, on to the next topic. I think I wanted to say something about, I think it was Marcus Garvey and the Universal Negro Improvement Association. Not so much to describe the association, but to tell you about a circumstance that occurred between representatives of the UNIA
Mm-hmm.
and the government of Liberia and West Africa. Right now, most people know that Garvey had a concept of going back to Africa. You know,
Right.
repatriation.
Right. Right.
Right. So in 1921, he sent a delegation to Monrovia to meet with representatives of the president of Liberia to
Mm-hmm.
negotiate purchase of the land and so forth and so on, sign some agreements and stuff. Right. That was in 1921. However, because two things were going on. First of all, Garvey was under investigation by the FBI, well, what it wasn't called the FBI then. It's called Special Investigations Unit in the Department of Justice. and MI5, the British counterpart to that.
Right.
Yeah, right, because Garvey was a Jamaican citizen who was part of the British colonial empire, right? Both of these people were interested in him because Garvey's organization was global.
Okay.
See, when we talk about Martin Luther King, his organization never was as large as Garvey's.
Nah.
Garvey's organization was global. He had a newspaper that people used to smuggle, like guys working on merchant ships and stuff like that. He used to smuggle his newspaper into different countries in the Caribbean and Africa and whatnot. So he had a Kujichagulia plan.
He did.
He even had a meeting with the Ku Klux Klan to discuss that. How can we get away from each other?
Right.
Yeah. So he's under investigation, right? So the United States government and the British government began to put pressure on the government of Liberia to renege on the agreements they made with Marcus Garvey, right? Now, the factor that was going on in the Congo, right? In 1880, the European powers dissected Africa, and everybody got a piece.
Right. Yeah.
Belgium is one of the smallest countries in Europe, and they got one of the largest colonies in Africa, Congo. It's called the Belgium Congo.
Right.
Now, I don't know if you're familiar with the writer Joseph Conrad, but he wrote a story called Heart of Darkness.
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, they teach it in college classes and whatnot. If you saw the movie Apocalypse Now, it's based on that same story, but except it takes place in Vietnam during the Vietnam War, right? But in the time frame that Conrad wrote it, it was when the Belgian Congo, under King Leopold of Belgium, was killing elephants and taking the ivory out of the Congo, right? And then all of a sudden in 1898, this guy named Dunlap up in Scotland somewhere figures out, he's trying to figure out a way to make the tires on his daughter's bicycle, flat, so they don't have to have springs on the bicycle.
Right.
He comes up with this idea of galvanized rubber, some rubber that'll stretch, you can blow it up, and it's cushioning, right? So all of a sudden, bicycles become extremely popular. Everybody wants to ride a bicycle. As a matter of fact, in 1898, there was an African-American guy, they called him Major Taylor. He was a world champion bicycle racer in 1898. As far as I know, he was the first African-American world champion of anything.
Right.
Jack Johnson came later. The boxer came later, right? But, Major Taylor, he's well known over Europe because that's where bicycle racing was very popular, right? But anyway, so all this bicycle stuff is going on. All of a sudden, the automobile gets invented. You gotta have wheels,
Yeah.
So Leopold found out that there were rubber vines
in the Congo,
in the jungle in the Congo, right? But here's the deal: if you tap a rubber vine, it kills it.
Right.
You don't get to hit it but one time, right? And Firestone Rubber Company, and in the midst of all the stuff that's going on with Garvey and Liberia, Firestone Rubber Company slips in undercover and purchases the land that had been promised to Marcus Garvey, and they built a rubber plantation on it. Wow. They planted rubber trees. Now here's the distinction. You tap a rubber vine, it dies. If you tap a rubber tree, it doesn't die. You can come back next year and do it again. Right? So Leopold, understanding the economic dynamics of what's getting ready to happen, he's getting ready to get put out of business. So he establishes a quota on how much rubber sap. He's got these slaves in Africa. He's got a quota for how much of that stuff they have to bring out. And if they don't bring out their quota, he's subject to cut their hands off. Right? He was just diabolical, right? I got a book. It's called King Leopold's Ghost. I'll show it. This is it right here. Adam Hochschild, King Leopold's Ghost. Tells the whole dynamic of this stuff going on in the Congo. There's a picture in this book. I'm not going to show it to you because it's too hard. Of a man looking at the severed hand and foot of his 5-year-old daughter. That's hard to take, man.
Yeah,
it's hard to take. That's what was going on, and Garvey got undercut.